Good morning, everyone. Since there is a class interruption on a Friday, we don't uh, meet each other this Friday. This is your recorded lecture for this topic, reasoning, argument, and syllogism. This is part of your midterms next week. You start with sapagkat ang filosofiya ay ginagawa, then review also the writings of Plato, the trial of Socrates, no? And the allegory of the cave, the ring of Gyges that we discussed. Also, our discussions about logic, argument, uh, the the parts of the arguments. Okay, premises, conclusion, and the process we call inference. Review them. Also review the two types of proposition: categorical proposition and hypothetical proposition. Also review logical opposition that we discussed, and also this topic today. Before we discuss reasoning, argument, and syllogism, let's review your understanding of writing the schema of categorical proposition. We will use this when we determine the schema of categorical syllogism. You will not be able to write the schema of categorical syllogism if you don't know how to write the schema or the pattern of categorical proposition. So let's have some repetitions or review. Number one, several priests are pious. Remember that this is an I proposition. Again, this is an I proposition. Since this is particular affirmative. So the schema of this proposition is SP plus PP. The term pious is not exclusive to several priests. Okay, that's why the predicate term is just particular. Number two, Chinese are good merchants. We don't have quantifier here. If you don't have quantifier, you ask the question, is this proposition applicable to all the subject term? In this example, Chinese. Okay. Is this proposition, Chinese are good merchants, applicable to all Chinese? The answer is no. That's why this is just an I proposition. The schema of this is SP plus PP. The word good merchants is not exclusive to Chinese. That's why you have this schema SP plus PP for number two. Number three, no Filipino is non-Asian. Remember, this is an E proposition. And don't forget that the term no is universal negative. The sense of that is all are not. So you have this schema SU minus. Every time you have a negative copula, the predicate term is always universal. Exclusion ang sense ng negative copula. Okay? Number four, every Tomasian must participate the rally. The sense of that is every Tomasian are persons who must participate the rally. All right? So this is an A proposition. You have SU plus PP. The predicate term must participate the rally is not exclusive to the term Tomasian or every Tomasian. So you only have SU plus PP. Next, number five. Most Filipinos are Catholics. This is an easy, This is an easy proposition. So you have an I proposition. This is SP plus PP. SP plus PP. The term Catholics is not exclusive to most Filipinos. So you only have particular predicate term. Next, number six, the Pope is the supreme pontiff of the church. This is an A proposition, singular, affirmative. All right. So this is an A proposition. You have SU plus PU. The term Supreme Pontiff of the Church is an exclusive definition of the Pope. So you have SU plus PU for number 6. Number 7, whoever is dishonest is undesirable. This is also an A proposition. The quantifier here is whoever, and the sense of whoever is all who are. Okay? That's the sense of whoever. Okay? Kung sino man. For number 7, the equivalent proposition is all who are dishonest are undesirable. Correct? So you have SU plus PP for number 7. The word undesirable is not exclusive to all who are dishonest. All right, so you have SU plus PP. Next, teachers are educators. There is no quantifier. So again, you ask the question, is this proposition applicable to all the subject term? In this case, teachers. Okay, the answer is yes. So you have an A proposition, but the term educators is not exclusive to teachers. So you have SU plus PP. SU plus PP for number 8. Number 9, Tomasians are students. All right. So there's no quantifier. You ask the questions. You ask the question, is this proposition applicable to all Tomasians? The answer is no. There are some Tomasians who are not students. So this is SP plus PP. And then last, number 10, all saints are holy persons. This is an A proposition. You have SU plus BP. The term holy persons is not exclusive to all saints. So we will use this when we go to our main discussion today, which is categorical syllogism. When we determine the schema of categorical syllogism, I'll just erase the things that I wrote here. Okay, now, let's go to our topic today, reasoning, argument, and syllogism. We will discuss here two types of reasoning or two types of arguments, namely deductive argument, or you can call it deductive reasoning, and inductive argument or inductive reasoning. And then we will also discuss syllogism, the definition of syllogism, and we will specifically discuss categorical syllogism because there are two types of syllogism, categorical syllogism and hypothetical syllogism. Let's discuss types of reasoning or types of argument. Let's begin with definition. As I have mentioned, there are two types of argument, deductive and inductive. Deductive argument is one or an argument having premises that talk about generalization and the conclusion that talk about particular instances. Okay? So you have a deductive argument if the premises talk about a general concept or a general principle, and that general principle is applied to a particular instance in the conclusion. For example, all men are mortals. Universal concept, di ba? All men are mortals. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. That is deductive argument because the premises talk about generalizations while the conclusion talk about particular instance or particular instances. While inductive argument is one having premises that talk about particular instances and a conclusion that talk about generalization. All right? Let's say Mario jumped from the main building and broke his neck. Lisa jumped from the main building and broke her neck. Carlito jumped from the main building and also broke his neck. You say in your conclusion, most probably, all those who will jump from the main building will break their neck. That is an inductive reasoning or inductive argument because the premises talk about particular instances, the instance that happened to Mario, to Lisa, and to the other one, while the conclusion talks about generalization. So you say in the conclusion, most probably, all those who will jump from the main building will break their neck. So if you are going to illustrate it, these are the movements of these arguments. They are different when it comes to the movement of their reasoning. Deductive argument is from general to particular. That's why we call it deductive. The conclusion is deduced from a general principle to a particular instance. Okay? While inductive reasoning is from specific instance to generalization. For example, you interview someone, you mga survey, for example, someone said he will vote for Lito Lapid. And then someone said he will vote for Bato de la Rosa. And then they will say, most probably this will be the top 12. That reasoning, that kind of reasoning is what we call inductive reasoning, from specific instances to generalization. Okay? Usually, they use inductive reasoning in sciences, social sciences. Okay? If you're asked, which is more certain between deductive and inductive reasoning? Which is more certain? The answer is deductive reasoning. Because the conclusion is simply deduced from the premises. Okay? So, if the premises are true and the argument follows the correct inferential pattern or the correct rules of logic, then necessarily the conclusion is also true. Okay? But in the case of inductive reasoning, the conclusion is just appeal to probability. This is just based on probability. However, the loophole of deductive reasoning is that it does not say something new about the world. The conclusion is just derived from the premises. Okay? That's the beauty of inductive reasoning. It says something new about the world. We discover something new about the world through inductive reasoning, through observation, and then from observation, you look for some patterns, and from the pattern, you create your temporary hypothesis, and from that, you create a certain theory, and then it becomes a law. Law of gravity, for example, law of thermodynamics, they came from observation. And the operation or the movement of that reasoning is what we call induction or inductive reasoning. That's why we use both deductive and inductive reasoning. Okay? Sometimes deductive reasoning is called preserver of truth, while inductive reasoning is called discoverer of truth. Again, if you are asked in the exam, what is more certain between deductive and inductive? Certainly the answer is deductive. The premise of deductive argument guarantee the truth of its conclusion. Okay, ang gusto lang sabihin yan sa material ninyo, if the premises are true and the argument follows the correct rules of logic, the conclusion is necessarily true. Okay? Sabi dito, the conclusion is already implied in the premises. Hence, if the premises are true, the conclusion becomes necessarily true as well. For example, all graduate school students are college degree holders. Is this true or false? The answer is true. This is true. But high school students are not students of graduate school. The minor premise is also true, right? Hence, they are not college degree holders. Because I know the rules of logic, we are not yet there. It follows the correct rules of categorical syllogism, the 8 rules of categorical syllogism. So, it guarantees the truth of the premises. We say they are true, guarantees the truth of the conclusion. However, you have to note this. A deductive argument with an invalid inference may have a true conclusion. Okay? In the first principle, the truth of the premises guarantees the truth of the conclusion. But the truth of the conclusion does not guarantee the validity of the argument. The argument may have true conclusion, but it does not, the argument does not follow the correct rules of inference. So it's still invalid. Validity is not the same with truth. For example, all politicians are powerful individuals. Some powerful individuals are local officials. Hence, some local officials are politicians. We can see here that the conclusion is true. That some local officials are politicians. That's true. Based on reality. Some local officials are truly politicians. But does it follow that the argument is valid? No, because I know the rules of categorical syllogism. I can see that this is invalid because the middle term is not universal at least once. Okay, remember that's rule number 4. And we are going to discuss that after the midterms. The point of this slide is that a deductive argument with an invalid inference may have a true conclusion. The truth of the conclusion does not guarantee the validity of the argument. Okay? Remember the first principle, the truth of the premises guarantees the truth of the conclusion. Okay? If the conclusion is derived from the premises. Okay? However, the truth of the conclusion does not guarantee the validity of the argument. Remember that. So there are 2 conditions or requisites for the validity of deductive argument. What are they? Number 1, the conclusion must follow from the premises. The conclusion must be derived from the premises. It must be a result of the premises. And number 2, the process by which the conclusion was derived follow the deductive rules of reasoning. That's why it's very important for you to know the rules of inference, for you to determine the validity of an argument. Okay? For example, penguins are black and white. Some old TV shows are black and white. Therefore, some penguins are old TV shows. We can sense that this is invalid because it's parang hindi naman okay, ano? Parang nakakaasiwa. Nakakatawa. Okay? But this is invalid because the rule says there must only be 3 terms in a categorical syllogism, no more, no less. There must only be 3 terms. But in this case, there are 4 terms. The term black and white here doesn't have the same meaning. Penguins are black and white, literal. Some old TV shows are black and white. Okay? The term black and white don't have the same meaning in the premises. So they will be counted as 2 terms. So there are 4 terms in this syllogism. Okay? So you remember, for the argument to be valid, the conclusion must be derived from the premises, and the process by which the conclusion was derived follow the deductive rules of reasoning. In this example, the second requisite is not present because it violated the rules of inference, particularly rule number 1, saying that in a categorical syllogism, there must only be 3 terms, no more, no less. Okay. Again, in inductive reasoning, its premises appeal to evidence through sense experience. I also mentioned a while ago that it begins with observation, then you look for pattern, then you generate a temporary hypothesis, then you create theory until it becomes a universal principle, a law, for example. For example, the Mona Lisa by Da Vinci is an excellent piece of art. Okay? The Last Supper by Da Vinci is an excellent piece of art. The Madonna of the Rocks by Da Vinci is an excellent piece of art. So probably all works of Da Vinci are excellent pieces of art. Okay? This is inductive reasoning because the premises are particular instances while the conclusion is a generalization. Is this certain? We say it's not certain. It's just based on probability. What is being measured in inductive reasoning is the degree of probability, not the degree of certainty. All right? That's why, as I have mentioned, you have to differentiate between discoverer of truth and preserver of truth. The first one pertains to inductive reasoning, while the second one, preserver of truth, pertains to deductive reasoning. But we can see inadequacy in the traditional definition of deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning. Again, the traditional definition of these types of argument says this way: deductive argument is one having premises that talk about generalizations and a conclusion that talk about particular instances. While inductive reasoning or inductive argument is one having premises that talk about particular instances and a conclusion that talk about generalization. But is this always the case in all deductive reasoning, in all inductive reasoning? The answer is no. For example, 80% of Filipinos lives below the poverty line. Teresa de la Cruz is a Filipino, so probably Teresa de la Cruz lives below the poverty line. Okay? We can observe that this argument does not move from particular to generalization because the premise here is a general concept. But still, this remains inductive argument because the conclusion appeals to probability. Okay? We can clearly illustrate the inadequacy of the traditional definition of inductive argument. Okay? It is inadequate or narrow because it does not cover, or the definition does not cover all inductive arguments like this one. If you are going to define inductive argument this way, so that this definition is narrow because it does not cover this form of inductive reasoning. Because the idea of inductive reasoning is it is an appeal to probability. It is just based on probability, not on certainty. Okay? Can you see now the inadequacy of the traditional definition of inductive argument? Same thing with deductive argument. If you say that deductive argument operates or moves from general concept to particular instance, how about this deductive argument? This is also deductive argument. If you say, if Benigno Aquino was assassinated, then he died. He was assassinated, hence he died. This argument does not move from generalization to particular. Rather, this is from conditional claim. What is that? If Benigno Aquino was assassinated, then he died. Okay? From conditional claim to particular instance. If you say deductive argument is an argument having premise with general concept and a conclusion with particular instance, then it is not covered. This kind of deductive argument is not covered. We can illustrate now the inadequacy of the traditional definition of deductive argument. That's why modern logic would define deductive argument and inductive argument this way. Deductive is an argument whereby the premises are meant to support the conclusion with an absolute necessity. And this necessity is independent in any manner from whatever may be the case. It is not dependent on reality. Rather, the necessity is dependent on its being compliant with the rules of logic. Okay? While inductive argument is an argument whereby the premises are meant to support the conclusion only with probability. And this probability is independent upon what else may be the case. Now it can cover all kinds of inductive argument. Although most inductive arguments are from specific to universal or to generalization, but there are some inductive argument that does not operate that way, like what we illustrated. So this will be our working definition of deductive argument and inductive argument. Let's go now to our main topic for today, syllogistic argument. And we will focus today on categorical syllogism. Let's define first. What is syllogistic argument? It is a set of three propositions and the conclusion must be derived from the premises. You have to remember, all syllogisms have three propositions, no more, no less. Unlike in our first definition of argument, it is a system of claims, one of which is meant to be supported by other claims. Okay? Yung pag sinabing argument, it can have two or more, pwedeng 100 propositions are involved in an argument. Or pwedeng dalawa lang. There are short and long arguments. But when it comes to syllogism, it is a set of three propositions. The first two propositions, we call them premises. Major premise, minor premise. And the third proposition is what we call conclusion. But to be called syllogism, the conclusion must be derived from the premises. Meaning, not all set of three propositions can be called syllogism if the second requisite is not present. Like in this case, Comelec officials are government employees. Some government employees are corrupt. Some students are government employees. Is this a syllogism? The answer is no. Look for the requisites. First requisite, it is a set of three propositions. The first requisite is present. However, the second requisite is not present because the conclusion, some students are government employees, is not derived from the premises. There is this term, students, in the conclusion. Can you see the term students in the premises? No. Meaning, this conclusion is not derived from the premises. So you cannot call this a syllogism. This is an example of syllogism. All classes in Metro Manila are suspended. UST is in Metro Manila. Hence, all classes in UST are suspended. Are the two requisites present? Yes. This is a set of propositions and the conclusion is derived from the premises. Now, a syllogism has matter and form because we are doing Aristotelian logic And according to Aristotle, everything is formed matter. Everything is composed of matter and form. Even argument, even syllogism, they have matter and form. When we say matter, it is what the syllogism or argument is all about, its substance, its content, and its meaning. It's the content of the argument or the syllogism. While the form is the structure, the pattern, or the flow of the argument. That's why there are two kinds of logic, di ba? You remember what is being discussed in logic? Arguments. There are two kinds of logic because there are two aspects of arguments. What are they? Material logic and formal logic. If you are doing material logic, you are analyzing the content. Okay? Is the argument valid based on its content? Baka naman appeal to pity lang yan. Baka naman yan ay appeal to force. Baka naman yan ay begging the question. So, in that kind of logic or in that branch of logic, what you are trying to evaluate is the matter of the argument or the syllogism. And there is also what we call formal logic. If you are doing formal logic, you are evaluating the form, the schema of the argument. Can you follow? The schema of the argument. Okay, like what we are doing when we are writing the schema of a proposition or the schema of syllogism, you are doing formal logic. Remember this concept, ano? This is very important for you to remember. Formal consistency does not mean truth. In other words, validity does not mean truth. It is possible that your argument is valid, but the propositions are not true because they are two different things. Validity and truth, they are two different things. So we can say formal consistency does not mean truth. An argument can still be consistent or valid for as long as it follows various inferential rules, even if the propositions are false. Of course, it is important that propositions be true so that the argument or syllogism is both substantially true and formally correct. If you remember our discussion about truth, validity, and cogency, they have different bases. Truth is based on reality, while validity is based on rules of inference. So it's possible that the syllogism is valid, but the propositions involved there are false. Okay? Formal consistency does not mean truth. Let's go now to categorical syllogism. You have categorical syllogism if the propositions are categorical propositions and the conclusion is derived from the premises, meaning the major premise, the minor premise are categorical proposition, and the conclusion is also a categorical proposition. Again, these are the propositions involved in categorical syllogism: major premise, minor premise, and the conclusion. In this case, the major premise is all roses are flowers. Okay? The minor premise is some plants are not flowers, and the conclusion is ergo, some plants are not roses. Aside from the three propositions, categorical syllogism has three terms, no more, no less. What are they? Major term, minor term, and the middle term. The major term is always the predicate of the conclusion and can be found in the major premise. Remember that. It is always the predicate of the conclusion. That's why the symbol for major term is capital letter P. In this example, the major premise, the major term is roses. It's the predicate of the conclusion, correct? And can be found in what premise? It can be found in the major premise. Sabi natin, this is symbolized by capital letter P. Okay? And the minor term is always the subject, of the conclusion, always the subject of the conclusion, and can be found in the minor premise. In the minor premise. If that is our definition, the minor term here is the term plants because it's the subject of the uh, conclusion and can be found in the minor premise. And the third term in this categorical syllogism is what we call middle term. The function of the middle term is to mediate the major and the minor terms. So it does not have place in the conclusion. It should always be found in the premises. It doesn't have a function in the conclusion. If that is our definition of middle term, the middle term here is the term flowers. Okay? The symbol for that is capital letter M. Capital letter M. Can you still follow? Okay? So since all roses, no? All roses, PU plus MP, SP minus MU yan, ano? SP minus PU. Minus PU. Later we will talk about the schema. The first thing that you need to understand is how to determine the terms. Okay, again, let me illustrate it through another example. All Filipinos are Asian. All Filipinos are Asian. Manny is a Filipino, hence Manny is an Asian. This is a categorical syllogism because this is a set of 3 categorical propositions. All right? And the conclusion, Manny is an Asian, is derived from the premises. This is our major premise. This is our major premise. Okay. And this is our minor premise. And hence, Manny is an Asian is the conclusion. So determine the major term. The major term is always the predicate of the conclusion, and can be found in what premise? In major premise. So the term Asian, this is the major term. Okay. Major term is Asian. How about the minor term? The minor term is always the conclusion, is always the subject of the conclusion. Okay. What is the subject of the conclusion? Money. And can be found in the minor premise. So that is the term money. Minor term. Money. Okay. How about the middle term? May pangatlo, di ba? Middle term. Tatlo lang yan. In a valid categorical syllogism, there must only be 3 terms, no more, no less. What are they? Major term, minor term, and middle term. The middle term can be found in both premises and cannot be found in the conclusion. What is that term? That is found in both the major and minor premises. Okay, what is that term? Term Filipinos. Filipino. Okay, Filipino. This is P, P, S, N, N, U plus PP, SU plus MP, SU plus PP. Okay. You should know how to identify first the terms. Study that, ha? Pag-aralan nyo kung paano ina-identify yung mga terms na yan. This is very important for you to understand the rules later. Because, for example, sabihin sa first rule, in a valid categorical syllogism, there must only be three terms, no more, no less. How will you know, how will you evaluate the syllogism using that rule if you don't know how to identify terms? That's why I discussed this first before we go to the rules of inference. This one, government employees are elected officials. Gurley is a government employee. Thus, Gurley is an elected official. Okay, from our definition, what is the major term? The major term is always the predicate of the conclusion. So what is our major term here? Elected official. Our definition of major term is it is always the predicate of the conclusion and can be found in what premise? And can be found in major premise. So what is that term? The predicate of the conclusion and can be found in the major premise. The term elected officials, no? Elected officials. This is the major term. Okay? What is our minor term? The minor term is always the subject of the conclusion and can be found in the minor premise. So that term is the term Gurley. Okay, capital letter S. And the middle term can be found in both premises and not in the conclusion. So that is the term government employee. Government employee. So our schema here is MP plus PP, SU plus MP, therefore SU plus PP. You can see here that it is invalid because the middle term is not universal at least once, but hindi pa tayo doon. You need to understand first the elements of categorical syllogism. You need to study how to write the schema of categorical syllogism for you to evaluate categorical syllogism or the validity of categorical syllogism. So now, the schema, you can draw the schema of categorical syllogism using these symbols. Capital letter P symbolize major term. Why? Because major term is always the predicate of the conclusion and can be found in the major premise. Minor term is symbolized by capital letter S because it's always the subject of the conclusion. It's called minor term because it can be found in the minor premise. Middle term is symbolized by capital letter M. Okay, middle term. Then same, universal, particular, small letter U, small letter P, negative symbol, and affirmative symbol. Okay, so let's apply. So what is the schema of this proposition? All bankers are businessmen. Mr. Cruz is a banker. Therefore, Mr. Cruz is a businessman. Okay, so the term businessman is the major term. The minor term is the term Mr. Cruz. The middle term is the term banker. So you write the schema this way. Banker is the middle term, correct? That is MU plus businessman is major term. What is our symbol for major term? Capital letter P. And it's just particular because the term businessman is not exclusive to all bankers, correct? Mr. Cruz is a banker. Mr. Cruz is minor term, correct? Minor, SU plus, and the term banker is middle term, correct? Okay. The term banker is not exclusive to Mr. Cruz, so it's just particular. Then you put the bar. and you put the three dots. That's the symbol for therefore. And then Mr. Cruz is uh, minor term, correct? So SU plus BP. Okay, so that is your schema for this categorical syllogism. Okay, aralin niyo yan ha, aralin niyo yan. Let's give another example. Let's give another example. How about this one? All traditional politicians are power brokers. Some local executives are traditional politicians. Therefore, some local executives are power brokers. Okay? What are the terms? Yun muna ang gagawin nyo to be able to write the pattern or the schema of categorical syllogism. What is the major term? The major term is always the subject, always the predicate of the conclusion, and can be found in the major premise. So that term is the term power brokers. Capital letter P yan, correct? What is our minor term? Minor term is always the subject of the conclusion and can be found in the minor premise. So that is the term local executive. And capital letter S ang symbol niyan, di ba? And then the third term is what we call middle term. Can be found in both premises. If that is the case, the middle term here is the term traditional politicians. Traditional politicians. Symbolized by capital letter M. So the schema here is MU plus PP, because the term power brokers is not exclusive to all traditional politicians. And then minor premise, SP plus MP. Therefore, SP plus PP. Okay? That's our schema for this given. Take note of that. Aralin nyo yan. This will be crucial in understanding the rules of categorical syllogism. How about this one? What is the schema of this of this categorical syllogism? Is this categorical syllogism? Yes. It is a set of three categorical proposition, and the conclusion is derived from the premises. The first one is the major premise, second one is the minor premise, and the third one is the conclusion. So what is the major term here? The major term here is the term boxers. You know the reason why. It's the subject, is the predicate of the conclusion, and can always be found in the major premise. Either subject or predicate can always be found in the major premise. That's why we call it major term. What's the symbol? Capital letter P. Okay. What is the minor term? The minor term can be found in the conclusion as the subject, businessman, and can be found in what premise? It can be found in the minor premise, either subject or predicate. So that term is the term businessman. All right. What is our symbol for the minor term? Capital letter S. And the third term is what we call the middle term. It can be found in both premises, correct? It can be found in both premises, but not in the conclusion. So what is our middle term in this syllogism? Athletes. It's the symbol, capital letter M. So your schema here is PU plus MP, MP plus SP. Therefore, SP plus PP. All right? Kaya na? Kaya na mag-draw ng schema? You need to understand the pattern the pattern of categorical syllogism for easy logical analysis. Para madali niyong ma-detect yung mga fallacies ng structural fallacies ng isang categorical syllogism. Okay? How about this one? Some philosophers are not believers of God. All believers of God are hopeful. Therefore, some hopeful persons are not philosophers. Is this a categorical syllogism? Yes. It is a set of three categorical propositions. And the conclusion is derived from the premises. How many terms are present in categorical syllogism? You have three. What is the major term in this given? Major term is always the predicate, diba? Predicate of the conclusion and can be found in what premise? Major premise. So the term philosophers. This is P. Okay. What is the minor term? The minor term is always the subject of the conclusion and can be found in what premise? Minor premise. So if such is the case, the term hopeful persons, this is our minor term. And the middle term can be found in both premises but not in the conclusion. So what is that term? Believers of God. Believers of God. Symbol, capital letter M. So the pattern or the schema of this categorical syllogism is PP minus MU. If you have a negative copula, the predicate term is always universal. So it's also applicable here. Okay, all believers of God, this is MU plus SP. The term hopeful person is not exclusive to believers of God. Therefore, SP minus PU. Therefore, SP minus PU. So that is the pattern of this syllogism. Later, you will understand this argument or this syllogism is invalid because the major term in the conclusion is wider than the major term in the major premise. Is it major? No. Later, you will understand that. But you need to know first how to draw the schema or the pattern of a proposition or of a syllogism. Okay, kayang-kaya nyo na yan. Gamitin niyo yung binigay ko sa inyong material para i-exercise yung inyong understanding dito sa schema, pagsulat ng schema. Okay? Sagutan niyo itong mga ito. Sagutan niyo itong mga nandito. And then I'll give you exercise / quiz sa inyong canvas. You want me to answer this exercise? Dali lang to eh. Okay, sagutan natin para meron kayong notes. But I'll give exercise / quiz sa schema para malaman ko kung nakuha niyo yung discussion sa canvas. Dito, some congressmen are party list representative. Lito is a congressman, hence he is a party list representative. So this is MP plus PP SU plus congressman, ano? MP. Therefore, SU plus PP. Okay. Aralin nyo. Okay. Number 2, most condo owners are rich, but some Tomasians are not rich. Therefore, all Tomasians are not condo owners. The major term is condo owners. The minor term is Tomasians. The middle term is rich, correct? So you have PP plus MP in SP minus MU. Therefore, SU minus condo owners is P. Okay. Ang daming fallacies nito. Number 2, you know? I can I can see the fallacies now because I see the pattern and I know the rules. But later you will understand that. For now, you should know how to draw the schema. And you can use skills that skills to understand or to determine the validity of an argument. Okay? Did you copy that? Siguro sagutan natin yung mga susunod pa, ano? Para maging reviewer ninyo. All teachers are college graduates, but Alice is not a college graduate, hence she is not a teacher. Okay? Ang major term dito ay teacher, ang minor term ay Alice, ang middle term ay college graduate. Okay? So you have the schema of PU plus MP, and then SU minus. MU na yan, minus eh. Therefore, SU minus PU. Okay? SU minus PU. Next, number 4. All tigers are vertebrates, but some vertebrates are fierce. Hence, all fierce animals are tigers. The major term here is the term tigers. The minor term is fierce animals. Okay. And the middle term is vertebrates. So the schema here is PU plus MP, correct? Then MP plus SP. Therefore, SU plus PP. Invalid. Undistributed middle, illicit minor. But later nyo na lang aralin yan. Okay? So the schema for number 4 is PU plus MP, MP plus SP, therefore SU plus PP. Okay? Next, number 5. Urahin ko lang. Number 5, most third world countries were colonized, but some Asian countries are third world. And some Asian countries were colonized. The major term is colonized, and the minor term is Asian countries. The middle term is third world countries. So the pattern of this syllogism is MP plus PP, then SP plus MP, correct? Therefore, SP plus PP. Okay? You understand that? MP plus PP, SP plus MP, therefore SP plus PP. Okay. Invalid din yan. Undistributed middle. At saka two particular premises, double particular premises. All right. Next, number 6. All professors are tenured faculty members, but some professors are authors, hence some authors are not tenured faculty members. The major term is tenured faculty members, correct? The minor term is author, can be found as conclusion, as a subject of the conclusion, and can be found in the minor premise, correct? And the middle term is the term professors. All right. So the schema of this is MU plus PP, some professors. So this is MP plus SP. Therefore, SP minus PU. All right. Invalid then. This is fallacy of illicit major. Illicit major. Okay. So that's it for today. You review this lecture. Then I'll give you exercise slash quiz tomorrow. Sa Canvas, tingnan nyo sa Canvas. Okay? That's it. That's it for today.